Hello, changing a wheel bearing here today. This is what's left of an old wheel bearing that I changed previously on the same car. So this is the outer container, the outer race. Double wheel bearing, inside outside. There's no real inside outside to these. There's an old hub, wheel hub. So this fits squarely into there with the bearings inside. The new one I'll show you a bit later is in the refrigerator. Getting it as cold as possible so to make the fitting a bit easier. This is the hub assembly. This is the easy bit to get out. This bit is part of the race. That fitted onto there. This bit is harder to get out. I've got a special tool. How I did it before was I ground it off. I didn't need this hub. If I needed it, I've been quite disappointed with that kind of big line in it, even though that would probably still work. Here's the old hub from a job I did earlier on the same car. Always best to check if everything fits and if you've got the tools to remove it and to put it back in the bearing. Here's my kit. So show you how that works below on, but upon checking it, I noticed that I didn't have one of these little fellas, you can see, fitted properly over the old bearing. See, look, it was either too small or it was too large. The too large one wouldn't push it all the way down, so what I've done is, here's an old bearing and these are quite handy. I'm going to use that a bit later on to extract it. Put a really small one in there so it sits on that little rim there, and hopefully that will be fine. Or I just hammer it in, we'll see how it goes. Okay, make sure you've jacked up your car, put it on axle stands, the correct place for it. What I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to show you the play in the wheel. So if it was playing this way, then that'll be something to your steering rack. You're tracking. You can hear that. There should be no play in it whatsoever. Now it's rumbling quite a bit when I'm rolling, but it's not as much as some people may not notice, but I do. I'm hoping it doesn't get worse. If I left it, it could go worse. Then eventually it become a big problem. With the wheel off, remove the little split pin using one of these pliers. These sort of pliers. Hammer it through. I'm going to reuse that. What I'm going to do next is use an old wheel, or alternatively knock out that section of the wheel cap, put the wheel back on, unjack the car, lower the car, and then undo this big old nut there. You need the car on the floor to do that. Then I'm going to put it all back up. I'm going to take off. We'll loosen these nuts, take off the brakes, suspend the brakes, take out the steering, ball joint probably lastly, and then I'll work on the hub. It'll be released. Do a very long bar, 32mm. Just going to loosen it a little bit. Enough. Remove the two bolts holding the brake pads. So this is the brake caliper, the outer caliper part. Should just come away nicely as it does. This needs to be suspended on the suspension because I'm not removing it. 2 bolts behind here. I'll take the whole caliper off, the main caliper, it's got away. Make a note of where the sensor goes, there it is. It's at the back and it's at the top. So when the pad wears out, it's going to start screeching. That's the way it's going to be put back in. Okay, take off the retaining pin, split pin, the castle nut, and undo the nut. See if we get lucky, see if it comes off. I'm going to give it a quick knock, see if it comes off. If not, I'll use a tool. Put the thread back on, put the castle nut back on the wrong way. I'm not going to hit on top of the bolt and see what comes off. No, I'm not going to. When you try to rub my thumb, I'll screw the thread back on. Not back on the wrong way. It's even now with the shaft of the bolt. It don't want to come off, I have to use the tool. Okay, camera didn't capture that one. So I'll put this tool on. A couple of knocks with the hammer, put this tool on. A couple of winds, came straight off, and I kept the nut there. Stopped falling down, so it doesn't really matter. Right away the ABS sensor. There's a lower ball joint, put the nut back on, put the bearing removing, the ball joint removing tool, slid in. You'll need to keep that lower arm ball joint intact or undamaged as possible. And so I'm going to tighten the nut and it should pop up. So I've given it a couple of hammer blows. Putting pressure on now. There you go, popped out. That'll do. So put the bolt back in gently, not secured. Notice it rattles. I've taken this tracking arm off, loosened the ball joint. Next bit, there's a washer in there. I'll make sure I know the washer goes whichever way. I've got my magnet ready to prise the washer up. And put the retaining nut, the upper nut, on backwards, it's flush. Hopefully the shaft will come off with one clean hit with a rubber hammer. Okay, it's a bit stuck, so let's give it a bit of slack. It's a bit looser. I notice there's a lot of play in there. Okay. It's gone loose. Okay. Just a bit of playing around with it now. Loosening that. Notice it's just wobbling. That's done. Okay, for my sake, this is the way the washer went in. The inside is kind of dirty looking, and the outside has got kind of little scratch rings on it, so that's how I remember it. So I was trying to kid myself that it didn't need doing. Well, listen. Hear that? There shouldn't be any noise there. You can see the play. Also, I gunged up my own speed sensor, so it's a good thing I took it apart anyway. Shouldn't be any noise. So this is the easy bit of the bearing removal. So I've got on this side, there's my hub assembly. Just resting it between a couple of axle stands. Trying to get it as straight as I can. This is probably all I'm going to get away with. If you look carefully, there's a little, it could be a circ clip in anyone's case. Mine's just like a little kind of, just there, when that spot is. A little kind of retaining clip. the new bearing came with a new retaining clip, but I'll use a new one. The inner circle, let me get the screwdriver. Okay, so this bit here, that's the retaining clip. I've got a wedge here, this is a little screwdriver between there to take it off. This inner circle here, get a light on it. The inner circle, that's the hub assembly, that fits to the outside. Here's where the shaft fits. I've got a 28mm. Could be different in your case. Fits just over. I'm going to hit it with a hammer. That's the easy bit. It should fly off, but it will retain part of the bearing, which is the different. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to hit it at the same angle it drives, and drive the force straight through the shaft. Nice clean blow with this rubber hammer. It's pretty damaged in there already, so it's kind of loosened up. If you look, it's kind of gone in a bit. It's definitely gone in. You see it popping out the other side. There you go. So, yes, classic. So it's come out of the inner race. If you look carefully as well, I think there's a lot of damage on there. If you look, also there's a little ridge just here. I'm going to use a tool later on, try and pull this out without damaging this shaft. Okay, so now we look from the other side. There it is. So I'm going to extract that. We're going to be pushing this way. Push the bearing out. Okay. Let's take that pit out. Let's take it up. Clean it up a little bit. And this is how deep I need to sink this bearing in and eventually back. The new bearing will go in this way, the old bearing is going to come out that way. That's how deep I need to do it. So here's my screwdriver. Now I'll remove the circlip. Here is the outer bearing just there. And this screwdriver is. That's the middle of the bearing, that's the inner bearing. I'll need an adapter to fit just in there. There's the other side. So this is my pulley assembly to pull the that race off. So I haven't got it all set up right. If you notice, if you look very carefully, you notice that sits there and that sits there. This is part of the puller and there's a gap here. So I think if I was to pull hard enough, it will snap. There's just a tiny bit of metal in contact with the ring. There's two ways I'm going to do this, either damage this or damage that. I'm going to damage this, so I'm going to grind away, mark some spots there, here and the back, and grind that away so that this will fit into there. It's quite deep, so I'm grinding quite deep, and hopefully the whole of that circular bit will fit in there. Yeah, I've got my hub assembly all clamped up, got plenty of light on it, make sure you get eye protection. So I'm just going to cut some grooves. See how I made a mark here, 4 grooves into it. I'm going to cut it that way so that the jaws of the gripper can grip into it. What I want to do is least damage this shaft as possible. We should try. The eye protection on. Just got one of the. I haven't got one of those new cutters. I've got this old-fashioned thing. Fits into this disc. Fits into the drill. one. I'll do all 4 corners. If you look carefully, it kind of sits on a bit more squarely. It's more the metal of this clock extractor is sitting on the ring. If not, if it don't work, I'm just gonna just shave it a bit more area down. I'm gonna give it a quick little twist of this thing, put something on top so that's not going to damage the hub. Quick twist, if it's not going, then I'm going to dig it. You'll see that just in there, Fuller has managed to pull it away from, there's a gap there now, pull this race away from this shaft. So here's my setup. Put it in the vise. And it's winding it off. So I had to really cut those grooves in for sure. Right, use the socket in the end. It's got a beveled edge. Put it against there. Carry on with the puller, because this basically hit the end and it wouldn't come off. So you've got to be sensitive. If I was doing it, I was feeling, well, okay, it's stuck. Let's undo it. Let's find out what's going on. So this hit the end. So that sat there. It was right at first, and it got to there. It stopped. Don't do it anymore. You're just going to break the damn thing if you use brute force. Take it apart. Had a look. Okay, it's got to the end. Used the socket instead. Pulled it out. Here's my setup for removing the bearing. Then that comes with the kit. That comes with the kit. This long shaft comes with the kit, and there's the comes with the kit. I've fitted the correct spacer in there. Now the reason why I took all that trouble to take off the old race. This is a different one, intact, is so I can insert this thing back in and hopefully do the best I can. Also make sure that this is as big as you need really. If you last time I put on one that was just right, and I ended up running a bearing through into my adapter here, and it took a lot of trouble getting it out of the adapter. What I'm going to use is an impact wrench, 450 Newton meter wire cabled impact wrench. I haven't got a air one. Also I'm wearing steel toe caps in case something drops on me, which was quite likely. And when I get it out, I'm not going to film it. I haven't got a lot of memory left, but I want to film it. Hopefully I'll film it as it's already popped out. Then I'll film it as I'm inserting a new bearing in from the there it is. It just kind of, so after I drilled it through with the impact wrench, it just came out like that. Seen that one. Here's the bearing. That's why I went to that trouble with saving it, so I put that race back in there. And I'm looking for telltale signs where we're not both sides are the same or not. Because some bearings actually have. That's what the ABS sensor works on. I think this bearing is either way it's okay. So that went in there nicely, look. That's what I was looking for. I didn't want it getting stuck as well. Alright, so I'll do the reverse, push the new bearing in from the freezer now. So freezing it, the whole point is to contract it a little bit. I'm not going to heat this one up, because I think if you heat it up it can expand outwards and also probably inwards. It might make your job a bit more difficult, but freezing it definitely shrinks things. So when I get the new thing, I'm going to set it up and I'm going to drill this way, and before I do that I'm going to clean it up and put a bit of grease on it so it goes in a bit. Okay, this is the setup I've got. I'm going to be careful as I wind that in. I do not want that spacer anywhere inside the barrel. I'm checking it is covering the whole of the outer race, outer bearing, clamped in. I'm going to hold it. It's not that secure. I'm going to hold it and use the impact wrench. I'll show the first little bit and all the little adjustments. I'm not going to show, but I'll show you the first little bit as it goes in. There's my impact gun. So, eye protection. Hold on. Here we go again. Just getting eye protection. Okay. See, it's gone in somewhat. All the little other adjustments I'm not really going to show. You get the basic idea. Okay, put the circuit back on. The bearing, the new bearing came with this circlip, and I was just struggling to get this on. I had to put the original back on, and then I figured out, hang on a minute, that original is round and this is kind of square. So if you think about it, I can't really, it's the tolerance which should be made for a rounded object, because the top and bottom of it would be slightly less wide than the middle of it. Alright, so looking at that compared to a round circlip. Okay, just put the hub assembly back on now. Now I've got this on, I'm going to gently hammer that. Yes, this is the inside of the hub, this is the outside. There's the thing I've got to shove in this way. So there's the outside wheel, there's the inside where the engine is. Now, what I've got to be careful of is the inner race and even the middle. I've got a support. I've got one of these adapters. It just fits inside that circlip. See that? Now I've got to make sure if I'm hammering home or drilling it in, whatever method I'm trying to get this in, this is going to come in like that from the other side. I need this to be supported, otherwise a whole lot would have been ruined. Now, if I hammered it in, so I just left it like and I hammered it in from the other side, it would just knock this inner race completely out, so that would be absolutely no good. Okay, here it is. In the end I hammered it in lightly. Remember I had the back braced. Then I drilled the rest of it in when I felt it a little bit too tight. Drilled it in, I mean, using impact wrench, 1/2 inch impact wrench, 32 socket. Alright, so when you're drilling this back in or hammering it back in, make sure the back end is supported. And I found the right space here, and it was just a case of pushing it in. No more audible noise. If you like it, please subscribe, press the like, put a comment if you want.